Okay, so we're going to start with the sunflower, and we're going to use this as the basis for our background. I'm going to take you through the steps of the photo manipulation, which is using all of the techniques that you had learned from last week. All right, we're going to start with, now we're going to use an image by artist Frank de las Mercedes, and we will drag the image into our sunflower. Good for 100%. Use our pen tool, and we will cut out a person, which you're going to find it was a lot different than the skateboard. So there's spots where the hair is that I will oftentimes miss. I want to get as clean an image as possible. Knowing that right here, I know is a black part of the shadow. I'm going to come around his shoulder, his arm, across, notice the wrinkles in his shirt. Don't forget the ear. It blends in very much with that background. His hair. And A, because I don't like to get that. And I'm making some adjustments. Okay. Now right click, make selection. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to come over to my layers. I'm going to hit layer mask. Now, there's some parts that I did not get very well. So our next thing is to right click on our layer mask, and we're going to say refined mask. And we're going to feather the edges a little, and I want to shift the edge. And I want you to pay attention to, as you shift that edge, that you don't take too much away from the object. Only a little bit. Alright. And then just hit OK. Now we have a great cutout. Okay. Now we have sand. So you're going to go get your sand image. I'm going to take the sand image. I'm going to be with my move tool, and I'm going to move it in to my sunflower. But I'm going to move it down below. I'm going to go Control minus, Control T. Notice how big the sand is. So I'll make it, we'll bring it down. Notice in here, I can move it as long as I don't click in the center. So this is where I can move it over. I can make it a little bigger. I'm going to hit Enter, Control 0, or Command 0 for the Macs. Now here's where we have some fun. Darken, multiply, color burn. Notice that the drawing that you did, or the painting that you did, how much you can change. I'm going to try linear. I like the linear. I want to talk to you about placement. And there's two types of grids that you can use. The first grid here is the golden mean. And this is using the Fibonacci curve, where everything starts out as two squares, and then it gets doubled, 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 as a guide or template for where we would like and how tall our character should be. So we're going to go Control T, and I would like him to go to the top of there. It's perfect. And then we'll move him over. Okay, and we can turn that. Alright, next we're going to add a gradient map. We'll do a red. And I want the gradient map only to apply to our character. So you're going to hold your Alt key down and click between the layers. Now right now it looks very strange, so we're going to go to linear and lighten. And let's reduce it. Just to give a little bit of color. Now we want to take our sunflower that we drew. I'm going to select all the pieces from layer 2 to my color fill. Maybe a 60. And here we're just going to paint a few colors that we would like. I'm just going to go over this. Make sure it goes all the way over. Okay. And I like the angle, so I'm going to just, there we go. The angle a little more like that. And now let's blend. I like my overlay quite a bit. But I would like it to only apply to my figure. So with your Command or Option, we're going to click in the layer mask. We've now made a selection based off the layer mask, which is of the figure. But I'm still in layer 8. So now I'm going to click on layer mask. Now it is only being applied to the layer mask. Good. Okay. We'll come up to our options and we're going to say merge layers. We'll put all those layers together. Now we're going to come up and make a new layer. And we'll go to our brush. Now, one of the components for your self I like the sand so much I've copied it. Now I'm going to move it up above the gradient. Alt key, apply it just to the gradient, and I'm going to reduce the opacity. Just want a little bit of texture on him. You don't see much of it, but it just gives him a little bit more texture. So there we go. Now I want to bring him and the background sort of together. So one of the ideas in this project is that you're going to mix elements, earth, water, and fire. So we're going to come to our brush tool. Like that brush that we started out with. And you can paint on your layer mask. So let's click on the layer mask, our option key, just so that you can see what the layer mask looks like. Notice the layer mask is just black and white. It also can contain gray. What is black is masked out, and what is white is allowed to come through. So we're in our layer mask, and we're just randomly, not too much, having some of that sand come through. I'll make my brush a little smaller, and bring some of that sand here. And there, I think that's alright. Just the little outliers here, just a little. Okay, so now it looks like some of the sand is coming up, and what we've done is we started to create some depth into our work, so it doesn't look so flat. We're allowing something to be in front, which is some of the sand we brought in. We have our figure, and then we have the back. Okay. So let's do a little manipulation on our figure. Let's come over to our burn tool, and let's make this side a little darker. Since it's sort of in that sand there. Over here, let's increase the brightness by using our dodge tool. Just to give a little bit more darkness to it. Now let's group. Let's add a group, and let's take our boxes and move them into the group. This way it's easier for us to find them. Control T, and with Control T you can rotate. So we're going to rotate them now. After I've hit Control T and I rotate it, I hit Enter. It's always nice when you have objects that also go off the frame. So we have the character going off the frame, and over here we have one of the boxes going off the frame. That adds to a very dynamic work of art. Now what we want to do is take these boxes add a little bit more with the transform. So I'm going to go with Control T. And up here, I'm going to go to my free transform. So I'm going to click, and I have what is a grid. So I'm just going to slightly, not a lot, that one there. Control T, free transform. Control T, free transform. Almost making it look like paper. Alright. And now, starting with this one, I see there's a little curve from here. It's curving over. So I'm going to say that this is a little darker. And zoom in. Make your brush smaller. And I'm going to go over here and make that a little brighter. And then our next one down here. Alright. This here is hitting the light, so this is going to be brighter. Make sure you're on the right layer. So that's going to be brighter. And it's going to be a little darker here. Over here, it's going to be a little darker, so let's go to that layer. And right up here, a little brighter. Okay, that just adds a little texture to it. Now we're going to come and we're going to go to hue saturation. And again, we'll hold down our Alt key to apply it just to our group. And here's our hue. And so we can change the color of the box to match. I'm going to go with more of the purple. But if any time you do not like the color, and you think it's a little too much, so I want to come back. You can change them. So it's called non-destructive editing, which in other words means that you can take that edit that you had just applied and you can change it. Now we're going to take our character and we are going to duplicate him, Control J. We're going to take the top one, we're going to go to adjustments. So we haven't talked much about our top layers here. Edit, these have to do with your fill and stroke. We'll look at those a little later. Image, adjustment is we do quite a bit. We've looked at brightness control, vibrancy, threshold. Many of these are the same ones that you saw down here. Like hue saturation. This one, we're going to desaturate. In other words, we made it black and white. You can see right there. we're going to go to, for you, I believe it says artistic. For me, it's filter gallery. And I like color pencil, cutout. I like dry brush. Pull the detail out and hit OK. And then let's blend that in. Finding the right setting. And oftentimes I'll find a setting and I'll go back and change it later on for my blending ones. Alright. It's a little strong. So I'm getting a little bit more of a painter quality. So I just want you to compare what we started with and where you are now, and looking at the different qualities of what you can do to your characters. And we'll add a drop shadow as our last little thing to our boxes. We applied it just to the folder, and that way it applies to all of our boxes at once. Makes it a lot easier. We could have done it for each one individually. And now you've had the first part of our character. We're going to go in and do a little bit more to him with our brushes after you learn about brushes tomorrow.